My name is Will Storkson. We're here at Audiosfx in Marin County. I am a sound designer, record producer, musician, engineer, and I've been working in the sonic arts for about 35 years. My whole life is a hobby, basically. I enjoy everything that I do. I made my hobby my way of living, and I just turned my life into something that I would enjoy every day. And it's important for me to live and be involved in an environment that is conducive of creativity and productivity. I was originally born in Los Angeles, California, and a lot of my influences growing up were rock and roll musicians, Van Halen, Rhodes. I was a real big Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin fan growing up as a kid, and started getting a guitar at around 11, 12 years old. And I began my career based on wanting to record my own tracks. I got into film sound probably in the late 90s. I started working at Lucasfilm, which I worked at THX for a couple years, and wanted to pursue my independent career in sound design and wanting to do different aspects of a film soundtrack, which led me to do Foley, music, editorial sound, and sound design. For my career in Lucasfilm, I branched out, started my own company, Audiosfx, which did lots of works, lost in translation for Sofia Coppola. I was a Foley supervisor on. I worked on many films for the Coppola family. I worked on a lot of independent films. Barry Jenkins' film, which I think his latest is Moonlight. I worked on one of his first features called Medicine for Melancholy, which I was super proud of. I think he's a very, very promising director for the future. Let's see, lots of Bay Area independent films I was really into doing, and I've worked on many features. A lot of game sound and music. I've produced records for Orchid. I've produced records for My Victim, and many other people as well, and played guitar on lots of different records as well. So that's just part of my overall interest in sound arts. I did teach at a school in San Francisco called Pyramid. I taught there for a couple years, sound for film and engineering, like first course engineering, for a couple years actually, which was good for me. And taught me probably more than it taught any student, but it taught me a lot about things that I would do that I wouldn't normally think about, that I would do intuitively. So let's take a look at some of the stuff that I use and the process that I go through to make these sounds and put them to film. I've been working on the sound library for about 20 years through recorded stuff and handheld recorders and multi-track analog machines and little digital devices and anything that I could find, including and not excluding an iPhone or anything that I could get my hands on to record something unique. Having a controlled environment helps, of course. It keeps unwanted noises out, but there's a huge world out there full of amazing sounds that I'm always trying to get, and some Zoom products, which are really inexpensive, enable you to do a lot of stuff. So speaking of things that can really help you get started and open your ears to the world around you, is something as simple as like an H2N or a Zune. I think it's $160, and it has 5 mics built into it, and it enables you to really go outside and be creative, and not obtrusive with a bunch of microphones and gear hanging out. You can get into places and do things with this little box that you wouldn't normally, be able to do with a large recording gear. So I highly recommend these things. They're great to have in a pinch. Okay, so Audiosfx is a fractal box I use for live guitar performance, as well as doing sound design and commercial work. Whenever I'm doing or writing commercials, the fractal works great for me. I don't have to do a bunch of amp setups. It's fast and I can get stuff done pretty quickly. The Helicon is basically just a voice processor. I use it for fun, making crazy creature sounds or effects. TC Reverb, DAT player, PCM 80, which is an old school reverb, which has its own unique sound. Some more mic pre, more reverb, distressor, compressor that, good to add some crunch to some nice things. This Focusrite one, I've always loved that red anodized thing, so I had to have one because I'm a nerd. Hardy M1's UA Mark II I use for a vocal chain. Avalon is basically I use for mastering EQ. I don't use a compressor at all, but the EQ has some unique voices for mastering. The Massive Passive, which I think is probably one of the best analog EQs available. Manley makes a great box. Verimu, another staple in the mastering industry. I use the DSM 7.1 as a surround controller because I do a lot of 5.1 work, and it enables me to have control over all my monitors at one time, and I can calibrate my room with their built-in stuff. Of course, the secret weapon, the SansAmp BI, always an important part of anybody's studio. You just don't know it yet. Basically, it is a Sync HD and HDIO, 16 channels of each flavor, and I use that as my main input and output for my Pro Tools. So the heart of the machine basically is just a Mac Pro 12 core. Yeah, feel the love. 64 gigs of RAM and an updated video card running a Pro Tools HDX. In any given picture, there's a lot of props and things that happen in the picture at a particular time, and we spot those elements, and then we replace the sound if it's not there, or if the sound's not good and we want it enhanced, we will affect that as well. So I'm going to show you a scene that's obviously missing the manila folder, and it falling on the ground, being picked up and looked at. So what you're seeing now is a floor, but what I have built is these wonderful trap doors, which underneath them have different surfaces. So this would be obviously like a pergo or a wood, a dirt pit, and a concrete pit. Another big reveal. Oh, this one's heavy. So we have gravel, marble, and brick. So again, more surfaces, and underneath marble I have yet another surface to play with. Okay, every good Foley artist has an arsenal of shoes. You never know who you could be walking. Bags and bags of shoes. Heels, I look great in heels. Flats, they're even better. And all these shoes will get used based on what the picture needs. If we go from concrete and we're going inside to a nice marble building, I'll go from the outside to the inside. Pro Tools is the primary software that I use. Of course, lots of plugins and other things that Pro Tools utilize. I use 12 HDX, and I also have a mastering chain as well as an analog input side. And It helps me control sound sources coming into my system and enables me to manipulate the chain all the way through to a mastering side. So those are my primary tools that I use.